The American Civil War remains one of the darkest and most defining chapters in U.S. history. Fought between 1861 and 1865, it was more than just a conflict between the Union and the Confederacy. It was a war that tore families apart, pitted neighbors against neighbors, and in many cases, urged literal brothers to take up arms on opposite sides of the battlefield. When South Carolina seceded in December of 1860, followed by other southern states, the lines were drawn. The Union stood for the preservation of the United States, while the Confederacy sought independence and the continuation of a way of life deeply tied to slavery. But beyond the political debates, beyond the strategies and battles, the war became intensely personal. Imagine a family with two sons, one choosing to fight for the Union, believing in the promise of a nation united and the eventual end of slavery. The other siding with the Confederacy, feeling loyalty to his state, his community, and its traditions. These weren't just abstract choices, they were matters of life and death, loyalty and betrayal. Letters from the era reveal stories of families torn apart, parents praying that their sons would never meet each other in battle, and soldiers fighting with the fear that the enemy across the field might be someone they grew up with. The war was not only about bullets and bayonets, it was about the human heart. Stories are told of brothers meeting in secret between battles, exchanging brief words, tears, or tokens before returning to fight on opposing sides. In some tragic cases, families never reconciled, the war leaving scars that lasted for generations. Over 600,000 lives were lost, making it the deadliest conflict in American history. The sheer scale of destruction was staggering, but what made it especially devastating was how deeply personal it became for ordinary people. This wasn't just a war fought in distant lands, it was fought in fields, farms, and towns where families lived side by side. The Civil War reminds us of the fragility of unity and how quickly political and moral disagreements can escalate into violence when division overtakes dialogue. It also forces us to confront the painful truth about slavery, which lay at the heart of the conflict. For many, the Union's eventual victory was not just about saving the nation, but about redefining its very soul ending, the legal ownership of human beings, and moving toward a future of freedom, though imperfect and still marred by inequality. The phrase "brothers fighting brothers" captures the essence of the Civil War's tragedy. It wasn't just North against South, or Union against Confederacy. It was Americans fighting Americans. Blood spilled on the battlefield was not that of strangers, but of kin. Today, the American Civil War is remembered not only for its battles Gettysburg, Antietam, Bull Run, but for the human cost it inflicted and the lessons it left behind. It is a warning about the dangers of division, the price of hatred, and the heavy toll of war. It is also a reminder of resilience, that even in the ashes of conflict, a nation can rebuild, redefine itself, and strive toward unity. The American Civil War was more than a fight over land or power. It was a struggle over identity, morality, and the very definition of freedom. And at its heart, it was a story of families broken, of brothers turned against each other, and of a country forced to reckon with its deepest flaws. It is a story that still echoes today, reminding us of the cost of division and the urgent need for reconciliation.